Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our rather special event at the Sheffield Documentary Festival. My name is Mark Dolan, and you're very welcome. Joining us for Freddie Flintoff and Robert Penn talk docs and chips. We hope it's going to be very entertaining, enlightening evening with two very lively characters. Now, in 2014, cricket legend and now showbiz legend Andrew Freddie Flintoff and his pal, writer and adventurer Robert Penn, spent 6 weeks travelling across the country in a bright green fish and chip van for the Sky series Freddie Flintoff, Lord of the Fries. Now, can you raise your hands if you saw that series? That's good. Well, that's encouraging. Okay, this is good news. Their mission was to spread their love of fish and chips across Britain and Ireland and hopefully have a bit of fun along the way. I adored the series. I thought it was hilarious. There's so many sort of self-appointed entertainers on TV who go on road trips with their pals, and it's all very constructed. And I just watched this and just thought they like each other and they're funny guys. And it was, an amazing success. It smashed the channel's slot average, making it one of Sky's highest-rating factual entertainment shows. And I thought, in a way, they achieved it by not trying too hard. I thought it was quite effortless. And if you haven't had a chance to see that original series, obviously we'll be able to look at what's happening in Series 2, where they just sort of pick up from where they left off. This summer, they took to the road for that second series, and it's called Freddie Fries Again. They've upped their game in every way. Before we bring the boys onto the stage, let's see a bit of what they got up to in their second helping. Well, I hope that has whetted your appetite. Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet them in the flesh. It's the one and only Freddie Flintoff and Rob Penn.
Thanks very much.
Lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you. Now, boys, welcome to the Sheffield Documentary Festival. I'm assuming you came here in the van together. I'm
outside,
hoping.
yeah, we've been serving chips outside. Well, I haven't, but Nicky has. But it's strange, isn't it, coming to a documentary festival? Richard Attenborough was in here before speaking, and now we've got us two Herberts.
I think it's the perfect combination, don't you? I think he didn't have to follow you. I think he's lucked out, I've got to say. By the way, are you actually any good at cooking? Are you like a natural cook anyway? I know you love your fish and chips.
I do, yeah. And then the more the series went on, the more pride I took in my food. I wouldn't serve a bad piece of fish. I wish I'd taken that much pride in my cricket career. Then I probably wouldn't be flogging chips. But yeah,
I don't know a lot about cricket, but I know you won rather a lot. So I think that's a bit of humility there. But listen, let's take a look at how that first series came about. Because, you guys bonded in the Amazon, right? So that was obviously where this relationship, that's obviously a revelation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stop the press. Okay, how did you come to do that first film in the Amazon?
Go on, Rob.
Well, we got thrown together. Sky wanted to make a documentary about the Amazon, and we came across this road called the Trans-Amazonian Highway, which is kind of metaphor for everything that's gone wrong in the Amazon in the last 40 years, really. I'm still concerned about why that lady was laughing. Is bonded in the Amazon a euphemism for something that I don't know about?
Yes, it is.
Don't
Google
don't
it.
go there.
Don't Google it. It's obscene.
And so we got this opportunity to cycle down this road, and obviously Sky wanted to get Fred on, but they needed someone who could fix a puncture and knew a little bit about trees, and that's where I came in.
Well, listen, it was already it was a great start. It was a very compelling thing. So we've got a clip of it. If you didn't catch it, take a look at this. It's amazing. Now, what were you thinking when you agreed to do that, Freddie?
I thought I was going to Rio. But yeah, they said Sky. I've been doing some work with Sky, and they said we're trying to save 1 billion or 1 million trees in the Amazon, and they asked me if I wanted to get involved. And I had a month off at the time.
And you like trees?
I like cycling. So they said we got this fellow called Rob Penn. He writes books. He likes trees. He's an environmentalist, and we want him to go with you. So we had to meet him. I thought he was going to be so boring. And then when we met, he was all right. So when we went, I'm not into the environment, to be honest. I wasn't. I didn't believe it. You hear all these things. 1 minute you can't. There's holes in ozone layer and there's trees, and next minute. So for me, it was like a journey of discovery. The more I cycled through this Trans-Amazonian highway, the more I learned. I think Sky's brilliant, and it was. As I was learning, as a viewer, you were learning as well. And then when I came home, I started putting things in the right bins and all sorts. So it had a really profound effect on me. But as an adventure, one of the things I've been lucky since I stopped playing cricket was my career's been really varied. And I want to see as much of the world as I can. I want to try so many things. I was just saying to Mark backstage, I've got no fear about failing in anything, but I've got a real fear of not trying. So whether it's been the boxing, the cycling, the fish and chips, for me it's just having fun. And TV for me has been a vehicle just to have a laugh and see a bit more of the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's become your second career in a very organic way. And I suppose you've probably grown as a performer doing, League of Their Own, which is an absolutely fantastic, hilarious show. But in a documentary environment, you get a bit more time on camera, don't you? It can breathe a little bit.
Yeah, and strangely, I've enjoyed it. Like, we've seen some of the clips before, and I've not seen most of it. I hate watching myself on TV. And all I ever wanted to do from being 6 years of age was play for Lancashire and play for England at cricket. And when I did that, every day of my life was like the best day I've ever had. It was every day I put my whites on the Red Rose or the Three Lions. And when it finished, I didn't really prepare for what was going to happen next. I got 9 GCSEs, but they're useless, aren't they? And Rob's son's just doing them in a minute, isn't he? And then I stumbled into TV. I did League of Their Own. I got asked to do it. And they said, there's this new quiz show coming on Sky One. There's James Corden, John Bishop. And I said, I don't know who they are. Who are these fellas? And I said no originally. And it was only the week before, thank God, that I said, get me on that programme. And since then, it's
What was the change of heart?
I needed a job.
Okay.
No, it was... I didn't think I was going to be retiring. I retired at 31, and in the time it took from saying no to saying yes, I had nothing to do.
Yeah.
So I jumped at it, and I thought, commentary isn't for me. I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting in a commentary box with Nasser Hussain and Mike Aberton. I'd sooner cycle the Amazon 10 times. And I wasn't quite ready for that. I was 31. I wanted to try something new and see where it took me. And I probably Sky don't really want to hear this, but for me, it's something I never set out to do, and I still don't understand why I'm doing it. And I still think they're going to find me out soon, but I keep getting a chance to do it. And working with Rob, I have a laugh and a joke, but it's been brilliant. It's just two mates having a road trip.
Well, yeah, you're obviously a massive environmental campaigner, and you write books and all the rest of it, but you're also quite a very impressive athlete yourself. So I wonder whether that was a connection that you're both good at pushing your body to the limits, aren't you?
I think it was, we met for 10 minutes before we went to the Amazon together for a month. And I remember it very well because he ate all the custard creams on the middle of the table.
Right.
And I like the bourbons. So
Perfect.
I thought we're just going to marry up beautifully here. And it was a big leap into the dark, to go somewhere like that with such a big character. Yeah. But really, we're very, very different in many ways. But actually, we fairly quickly worked out that we're similar in critical ways and fundamental.
In which ways are they?
Well, so I think we both worked out quite quickly that we are never happier than when we're at home mucking around with our kids, and that's kind of everything we do.
So when you were in the Amazon for a month, you realised you were never happier than when you're at home.
Yeah.
Not in the Amazon.
But it was the first night, wasn't it? We got to the Amazon and we bought some bottles on duty free. I was drinking then, and we bought about 6 bottles of Bushmills, and we thought we'd drink these throughout the trip. And then the first night we got on this houseboat, and it was a 25, 26-hour trip, wasn't it? And we just sat on the top deck of this boat drinking Bushmills, and we had all 6 bottles. And we were just looking at the stars and thinking, you know what, how good's this? And then it just evolved from there, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and did you have to apply, I wonder whether after the end of your playing career, did you have to sort of actually be an athlete again for that trip? Did you have to tap into those resources that you hadn't perhaps used since you retired?
No.
Because it was hard, wasn't it?
It was, but even as a player, I remember like in my early stage of my career, I didn't train. I just got by on single-mindedness. And
Really?
I think the Amazon trip was like that as well. The one thing I like is I like a challenge. I like to do things I'm not sure I can do.
Yeah.
And the Amazon cycling down there was one of them things, wasn't it? We camped in the jungle. I was useless at that. But it was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was great fun. It was a proper adventure.
Yeah, and what? Because
We served the world as well.
well, yeah. Well, what did you, in terms of like the actual end product? Clearly, the show was watched by a lot of people. You raised a lot of awareness.
Yeah, I think that's the point. I mean, that's why I was attracted to do it in the first place, because you're probably going to get several 100,000 people who would ordinarily not watch a show about the Amazon, but they're going to watch it because Fred's in it, and that, you're like, bingo.
Do you think maybe he could do a show about Brexit? Because I think we could all do with some cheering up. Here's my question to you. Because you just get sort of an overview of sort of your day job. Aside from this, what exactly?
I don't really have one. So I write books. I'm a journalist. I was a lawyer a long time ago. I gave that up and rode a bicycle around the world in my 20s.
As you do, yeah. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, and I'm making it up, really.
Yeah.
Still now.
So this is more in common, really. It's all organic, but you just both have a sense of adventure. So therefore, how do we get to the fish and chip idea of Meals on Wheels, taking some clapped-out old car and touring Britain and Ireland? Like, whose idea was that, and what was behind it?
Well, I'd sit at home. I got a lot of time at home. I'm not doing much, and I just come up with ideas, and I try and present them to Sky and think, hopefully they'll let me do one of them. And it's like combining different things, because a lot of people do road trips, and I wanted to see more of Britain. You know, I love Britain. I play cricket for England. However, I've not seen a great deal of it. I've seen a lot of the normal stuff. I've been to London, I've seen Big Ben, and, you know, I've had the misfortune of going to Birmingham and places. But with this, it was a chance to see more of Britain, because a lot of things you see around the world, everyone bangs on about, and they say, oh, it's great. But if you go in the Yorkshire Dales, it's amazing. You go to the Lake District, go to Northern Ireland and places. And the fish and chips thing was, I was actually thinking of opening a fish and chip restaurant, and I couldn't be asked. So
it's long hours, isn't it?
Well, I thought, well, why not get a van? Fish and chips used to be our national dish. It's the one thing as a kid, you know, on a Friday night, you know, my dad works all week. You know, two Fridays a month, we go off IS&C, get a couple of cans, we get some pop and a bag of crisps and a bar of chocolate. But then on the third Friday, we go to the chippy when my dad was feeling flush. So we'd have fish and chips, and it was a big part of my childhood. You know, I know where all the good chippies are in Blackpool and Preston and places. And there was something like 19,000 fish and chip shops 10, 15 years ago. There's now about 8,000.
Really? All right.
And I wanted to spread the word of fish and chips because I love them. And why not in a van?
It's a good square meal, isn't it?
It's a great meal.
Oh, I mean, they think it's how we won the war as well, because during the war we didn't run out of fish. We ran out of potatoes.
Fish wasn't rationed during the war.
There you go.
Went down well, didn't it?
And of course, it's a fantastic medium to meet people. You know, you open the chippy door and people start to come, and you're off, chat, and that was, you know, I mean, when Fred suggested it to me, I immediately saw that it was a terrific idea, because you just got people coming to you all the time.
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, you were off chat because the chemistry was almost instant, and my favourite thing about the series is just the relationship that you guys have. It's the ultimate buddy movie. It's the ultimate bromance. We're back to bonding in the Amazon now, aren't we? So therefore, let's have a little look at some of that chemistry. Let's have a look at this brilliant clip. Rob, I think you protest too much. I think
I really don't. I don't protest
every
enough.
minute
I tell
of
you,
it.
I don't protest enough. So he's a very, very uninhibited man. I don't think I'm uptight. I really, really don't think I'm an uptight person. But one of the things that we've tried to do with the series is explore each other's,
sexuality.
No. No. The Achilles heels that
You're
we
defensive
might
there.
have.
Look at the way you
I'm
sat.
not sitting.
Relax, man. Relax. Let it hang out.
Is this relaxed? Is it okay? And you obviously, as a person, you have weaknesses, and
You are a bit frigid, though.
so I'm not frigid. God, don't want to be having this conversation.
I knew there'd come a point where I don't need to do questions anymore. They're just going to take over. I mean,
but it's a very good medium for exploring the bits of the character which might be a bit weaker than you think they were. He's got problems, issues, as well as me.
I tell you what's fun is that you're wonderfully untrained. I mean, both of you actually.
Thank you.
You haven't got that. Everything in telly is so manipulated, and performers have got so many sort of tricks up their sleeve, and it's all very fake actually. So I think for me, one of the things I love about the series is it's very natural. You're not putting on any airs and graces. It's just two lads on a bit of a road trip. How was it for you though, having a camera shoved down your gob all day long, and the exposure that the series has brought?
Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable to begin with, to be perfectly honest. But you watch Fred get on with it, and you realise that actually that's just what you've got to do. And I mean, I really didn't enjoy it to begin with. But then as soon as
why not? What were the issues? Do you feel like you've got to be on all the time?
Yeah, and you've got to be funny, or quick, or dynamic. You've got to say something. But actually, you fairly quickly, actually, in the Amazon, I sort of came to understand, and because you get sort of pared down in the Amazon, because the sense of adventure and the exhaustion of it and everything, you sort of get pared down to your simple frame. And I fairly quickly came to understand that he's not pretending to be anybody who he isn't. So why would I?
Yeah, that's right.
So
I think that's
that's
unique.
how
That's unlike a studio entertainment show like League of Their Own is very well crafted. There's it's a team effort, isn't it? You've got top writers, top talent, top editors. It's a very crafted thing. Where a documentary, it's pretty much you're on the road. Someone's following you all the time, but after a couple of days, you give up the performing monkey thing, don't you? And you just have to be yourself.
I think for the first part of my career as a sportsman, I was a performing monkey. I think as a sportsman, you try and be that person that everybody wants you to be. You try and give no faults. You give up an appearance of how a professional sportsman almost become bulletproof. And you do, I've been in front of a camera doing interviews, and you've got to say the right thing. You get told what to say, what to watch out for. You try and take the positive out of everything, and it gets boring. Where with this TV stuff now, I find it quite liberating in one way, that I don't have to pretend to be anything I'm not. I can just go into a situation like that and have a laugh with it. Because a lot of the times, we don't know what we're going to do. I like to work in that way, where if you turn up, you go through a producer and you sit and you go through everything. It's very staged, where this is very organic. I turn up and it's a natural reaction to what we're doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, how much of it is planned? I mean, clearly there's a bit of an itinerary, there are ideas, and you like to surprise each other, I know that. So what do you reckon percentage-wise? How much is planned and how much winds up essentially just kind of improv?
Well, before each series, I'd give Rebecca a long list of things I want to do, and I don't do any of them. We just end up doing all sorts.
Almost none of it is planned. So, I mean, we know roughly where we're going to go, but we don't get told until, we're literally on the way there.
And what about the director, Ben, is here, and I don't know.
Dad.
There he is. And Rebecca, who produces the show.
Mum.
And Bill, commissioning editor. There's a cast of thousands, I'll be honest with you. What does Ben do? Does he guide you ever? What's his input, or is he very minimal?
But Ben's different. Ben's a bit of a lovey.
Is he?
Oh, yeah. And then one of the first days, we was in the northeast, and we was filming. It's groundbreaking telly, this. We were filming kippers. And there was this fella, and he'd had this family business handed down to him. He was massive, bald head, tattoos all down his arm, and he's handling his kippers. And then he did it, and then Ben says, "Oh, could you just do that again, please, Levy?" And what did you just say? he got the right on. But the one thing about the crew is, and for me, coming from a team background, you're in a team, and everyone, whether it's sport, is trying to win or do the best they possibly can. And TV, to me, is no different. In some ways, the people in front of the camera are the most dispensable. There's plenty of us like knocking about. Well, Rob anyway. But like the cameraman, the sound man, even like the most junior person, we're all trying to make the best we can. So we've got to try and enjoy what we're doing.
It's collaborative, isn't it?
And I think that team thing is very important. And I only observed that when we went to the Amazon, and I don't want to blow too much smoke up his ass, but, on kind of day 2 or whatever, we had an exhausting 14-hour day. So there's a bit of a hierarchy, there's lots of people from the production team, and then there's the runners at the bottom, and there's a hierarchy within the Brazilian fixers.
Yeah,
so
sure.
3 local lads and the bottom one. And, we got to the end of sort of day 2, and everyone was utterly shattered. And, Fred goes to the esky and gets a cold beer out and gives it to the youngest of the fixers. And I observed that, and I thought, oh, yeah, right, okay, I get it. Everything's a team. We're all hanging together on this.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, I think it comes across in the series. We've got another really fun clip, actually. And this ties in with the sort of way that you love to essentially torment each other, setting each other up. It's cruel and it's hilarious in equal measure. So let's see what Freddie had up his sleeve for you, Rob, in this brilliant clip.
Lord.
Well, Freddie, did this go on in your sporting career? The pranks and the kind of whole, locker room mentality of winding people up?
Yeah. And that's one of the things you miss when you stop playing. You miss that dressing room and the fun. You want to be in the thick of it all the time. And with Rob, it's not even a sport. It's just too easy. We even got that old fella there, Bob Champion, involved, and he was egging it up and things. But even in sport, I remember when I was playing one of my first games for Lancashire when I was 16, and I went to open the batting. About third ball, I got hit in the nuts. And cricket equipment's got better over time, but the box is still the same. It's like a soap dish.
Right.
It's got holes in it. I got hit, and what should have been on the inside of the holes was seeping through. And I came off when it was raining, and David Lloyd was my coach, Bumble. And he came in the dressing room, he got me a pint of ice water. He says, "Yeah, Andrew, put your nuts in there." And I was sat on the edge with my nuts dangling. And I was looking around the dressing room, it was all my heroes, like Wazim Akram, Neil Ferber, all these guys. And then one of the lads came in, a lad called Gary Yates. He played a little bit, he was a bit older than me. And he'd been doing some training. I put my glass down, he says, "Oh, I'm a bit thirsty, has anybody got a drink?" And all the lads looked at me. And I just, "Yeah, Gary, I've got some water here." And it had floating bits and everything. And then he necked a lot. And ever since then, that's probably a tame one, I can tell you.
Yeah.
There's been some absolute shockers over time. But yeah, that's sort of fun. I genuinely love the wind up and
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. And so I guess it's just toughening you up a bit, isn't he? You're being trained up.
He's a bit wet behind the ears.
A bit wet, but exactly. It's no bad thing. It's time. I'm nearly 50.
What have you got over him then?
We're scared of the dark.
Yeah.
So in the Amazon, there's pretty much endless joy, actually. Spooking him. And every time I get out of my hammock in the middle of the night to go for a pee, he needed to change his underpants. So that, and there's a few other, chinks. So ghosts. I don't know, I can't remember if we've got a clip of that, but there's, he's very spooked by ghosts, the paranormal. He doesn't
Yeah,
really like
we do.
things
We've got some bit of paranormal coming up,
Yeah.
actually. In fact, let's see what we've got here, because, I think we'll enjoy this. This is a nice example of the shoe being on the other foot.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned the ghost. Take a look at this. Just nice to see you with the upper hand for a change,
Yeah.
I got to say. So he's human after all.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about, have you thought, in TV, there's always a tendency to act up a little bit. Have you felt like that in this series? Have you ever felt like you've had to play act a little bit, be more surprised about stuff? Are you any good at that?
That was genuine, that.
That was real.
Yeah, it was when I was a kid. It's a horrible story, this. Not really. Right, there's a fellow in our street, called Barry, and he lived next door to the Smiths, who had 6 kids, and Barry had a big car, and he said to all those kids in the street, he said, "Come and clean your car, clean my car." It wouldn't be allowed now, but he said, "Come and clean my car, and we can watch videos." So we cleaned his car, went in the house, we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, we watched Rocky 1, 2, and 3, and then all of the kids had gone, and me and my mate Martin found The Exorcist. I was 10.
Right.
Watched The Exorcist. 2 weeks later, I was on blue pills for nightmares. And then since then, I can't go in a dark room.
Yeah.
So that was proper. That.
I wouldn't prescribe it to The Exorcist for a 10-year-old. That would
No.
definitely be hard to take. And what about because you said you'd try anything, but has there been anything in the series where you've had to say to Rebecca or to Ben, sorry, I'm not doing that?
I don't think there has been. I think we've done pretty much everything and seen more or less every part of our bodies.
Yeah.
You know, I lost my inhibitions years ago, and my credibility as well. So
Is there nothing? I mean, would you jump out of an aeroplane? Is there anything on a personal level, like even on another show, that would just be too hard for you?
The first thing I did actually in TV, I did a series. It's a terrible title called Freddie versus the World, but essentially it was against retired old sportsmen. And I did 21 different extreme sports in 21 days.
Yeah.
And it started off, we went cliff diving in Acapulco, paragliding. And then on that trip, I entered a professional rodeo in Texas and rode a bull in the rodeo. And ever since then, it was like, if I can ride a bull, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And now I quite enjoy it. I get a perverse kick out of doing weird stuff or dangerous stuff.
Well, like,
Your wife don't like it.
In your life, what was the moment where you've been most sort of stressed out and anxious? Has it been in the performing environment of showbiz, or has it been in the field of sporting endeavour?
Sport every day of the week. Because the one thing about sport was, for me, it was everything.
Yeah.
I was playing for the side I wanted to play as all my life. I was playing for England. And TV, again, Sky probably don't want to hear this, essentially it doesn't really matter. It's enjoyment. You know, I'm going into situations which are essentially fun, where because cricket, I put such a high price on it, and that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to perform. And no matter how I performed, it was never good enough in my eyes. So nothing will ever compare to walking out at Edinburgh for Lancashire or walking out at Lords for England.
Like thinking about Wayne Rooney and Harry Kane and all the guys at the moment in France. You know, do you watch that and just, can you obviously relate to that? Does it bring back memories of how you felt when you walked out for England in the Ashes and the hopes of a nation on your shoulders?
Yeah, the one thing about it is I was pretty good through my career at trying not to put too much pressure on myself. You couldn't affect what with the outside pressure.
Yeah.
The only pressure you could affect was what was on me. And a couple of times I put too much pressure on and I couldn't perform, I froze. Only once or twice in my career. But I still watch it now, and I still wish I was out there at times, you know.
Yeah.
I was at Old Trafford watching Lancashire Yorkshire last week with my kids and still thinking, you know what, it'd be amazing to be out there. But you got to give it away at some point. I'll still feel the same if I get to 70. I still want to be a cricketer.
Yeah.
But doing this is probably the next best thing, to be honest. So I'm not cut out for much else.
No, and if it was broadcasting about cricket, or if it was on the management side of cricket or coaching, it would be too tortuous for you to have to watch other people do it. It's almost easier being away doing a whole nother different thing.
Yeah, I think so. At this stage, yes. I have got aspirations to coach. However, when you're in a seaweed bath with your mate and then you're doing all these things,
you've got coaching and you've got this.
Credibility is a problem. But I think further down the line, when my kids have left home and got older, I'd like to coach. But there's only two teams I want to coach. One's Lancashire, one's England. Not interested in anything else.
Yeah, so that's brilliant. Well, watch this space then.
What happened?
You're gonna Oh, well, we'll see. I hope it does. So actually, we sort of hit a slightly more reflective moment in our conversation, and I think that's appropriate because I'd like to have a little look now at a really charming, warm clip of the two of you in a jacuzzi. I mean, this show is extraordinary. And it reflects another thing that I like about the series, which is a willingness on your part and also the makers of the show, a willingness to not be hilariously funny for the whole show in a very forced way, and that there can be some serious moments too, and this is one of them, and I think you'll enjoy it. Let's take a look. And that's wonderfully, amazingly candid of you, Freddie. You've always been very honest about, some of the challenges. And everyone has problems. We're all human beings. And we all struggle with things. And your struggle or your challenges have been maybe a little more public than other people's. I guess that's unavoidable because you're a very famous man. I mean, has there been any advantage to the fact that it's been out in the open, that, you know, you've been so open? Does that sort of helped, or would you rather have handled it privately?
It's nothing that I'm ashamed of. You know, I think everybody has their own demons or issues that they have on a daily basis, and I'm no different to that. And in some ways, actually talking about it has been quite therapeutic. I did a documentary for the BBC a few years ago called The Hidden Side of Sport, which was about depression within sport. And the idea of the program was to educate a viewer on some of the things that can happen. So Ricky Hatton was talking about it, Vinnie Jones, one of my best friends in the world, Steve Harmison. And hopefully, as a viewer, you'd watch it thinking, actually, it happens to these fellas. Maybe what I'm experiencing, it isn't that unnormal. It is something I can talk about. And the more I went on doing that documentary, I found that it was almost therapy, because I look back and think, well, that's how I felt all them years ago. That's how I felt for a lot of my career. And acknowledging that, it was almost like a relief. It was, yeah, there is something wrong, and I can sort it out. And I'm quite happy to talk about it. And the amount of people who've come up to me since and said, you know, how did you feel? And then you talk about it, well, I was like that. And then, you know, depression affects 1 in 4 people in the country. And it's not a selective illness. For me, it can happen when everything's going really, really well. And then the smallest thing can knock me out of kilter. The big things I can handle, like a crisis. I'm good in a crisis, but small things can knock me off. So talking about the reasons that I stopped drinking, yeah, I used to drink a bit too much. I used it to change my mental state, try and hide, and almost as escapism. But by acknowledging that, I could actually do something about it. And now I don't feel I have to. So yeah, I've got no qualms in talking about it. And I suppose people have spoke to me about it. And if I speak about it, it can help some other people that I've been helped by others, if that makes any type of sense.
Unquestionably, it's unbelievably helpful to people, because the sports people are held in the highest regard and considered to be these sort of perfect, you know, amazing athleticism and mental strength. And if you guys can show some vulnerability, it's a great tonic for absolutely everyone. And also, I'm very
like Sheffield Therapy Festival.
Well, it is a little bit, isn't it? Yeah.
Lie down.
But what I wanted to ask you is how different the series might have been if you hadn't sort of, you know, got yourself sorted out and addressed some stuff. Like if you'd been on the beers.
I wouldn't be on at 8 o'clock.
No. Would the show have been different? Because the Amazon, you mentioned the Bushmills whiskey for the Amazon film, which is a brilliant film. But do you think that it would have panned out differently if you were like, if it was the previous? What do you think? What do you think, Rob? Could you tell, what was the difference? Tell me the difference before and after.
It's probably funnier now. And certainly quicker with the repartee with strangers and stuff. He's very on top of that.
Bit more energy, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. A bit more energy. In the Amazon, you know, we lost him occasionally. You know, for 20...
Did he find a pub in the Amazon?
Yeah, we found a few, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, mate. You can get it when you want one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being drunk with him was like trying to rope a bull up. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think it'd have been the same show, especially last year with doing this, and I was doing juggling all types of different things that, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do it if I'd have been on the Lash with Rob every night.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I've got to look after him now.
Of course you have.
Designated
Responsibility.
driver.
Yeah, yeah.
Who'd have thought that I'd be the naughty one in this? I mean, really. Yeah, but that's the way it's worked out. It's quite extraordinary.
I wonder whether, have you actually, because sometimes what happens if you remove that sort of one aspect of your life, which might be drinking or something else, it creates a lot of space and a lot of energy for something else. And it seems like you've thrown it into your new career. All that energy is channeled into, you know, being here and doing a very successful live show, which I think is the most incredibly brave thing to do for someone that is not an experienced performer, to do a tour of major theatres for 2 hours, was it?
Yeah.
We were talking about that before the show. I mean, that must have been a bit nerve-wracking, because you had like 2 previews, and then what was that? What was that first big room you played? 500 people? Where was that?
That was in Melton Mowbray, and then we did Preston Guildhall, the next one, for about 1,500. And it was one of them things where...
That was like your 3rd ever gig?
Yeah, something like that. But I've been so lucky on the League of Their Own that I've worked. John Bishop's seen him come through, sat next to Jack all them hours. Jimmy Carr and all these comedians. I was watching them thinking, I won't mind having a go at that.
Yeah.
And I've got no fear of having a go. And it was fun. I suppose you're right. You do replace that side of your life with something else. And for me, I've thrown myself into work, probably more importantly, family life. It's good.
That's brilliant. Look, let's crack on now because there's so much more to see. And what we've got now is just more nudity, which I think is welcome, isn't it? So here's just grown men frolicking on an English beach, as you do. Take a look at this. I'm amazed there are still people in the theatre. That's a lot. That's a sight for sore eyes. Freddie, that is one of your favourite clips, isn't it?
Yeah. But it was just the weirdness of it. You know, we was in Ireland and it was 7:30 in the morning. There's all these women in the dressing gowns about to run in the sea naked, and they've allowed Rob to do it. And the thing about Rob, I think you realise that he's quite reserved. And all the way through this series and the first series and the other one we've done, he's just trying to get Rob, just seeing how far I can push him.
Yeah.
You saw then when he took his pinny off, he was all over it, wasn't he?
It was really, yeah. And I think he's in very good shape for a man of his years. I think you'll agree,
32.
ladies. Let's not take a vote on it. Okay. Rob's got a nice clip as well. This is one you teed up for us, and it involves an attempt at singing. Let's take a look at this. And that's the magic of the series. If you haven't caught the first one, the rest of the series is on its way. It started last Tuesday. Episode 2 is on tomorrow at 8 p.m. This week they visit East Anglia, and I've had the privilege of watching some of them in advance, and you're in for a real treat. So that is going to be on Sky One, and it is, as I say, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. But that's not where I'm pleased to say this partnership ends, because you guys are back in front of the camera in another exotic location, a bit more exotic than Ireland or Wales. Tell us where you've gone next.
We were in Australia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yes.
Whose idea was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just choosing places you want to go, really.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I've done a bit of work in Australia for the past 2 winters. It's amazing, Australia, really, because they think that I'm quite intelligent. I present a show out there, which is a current affairs show.
Really?
A nightly show. I go through the news and...
Are you like Australia's Andrew Marr?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
That's an
Well,
amazing
it's funny that
thought,
they let
isn't
me
it?
interview people. I interviewed Harrison Ford. I ran out of questions. I asked him how old a Wookiee was. I interviewed Samuel L. Jackson on the show, and it's like it's a live show, and you sit on a desk, and then you go through the news and things. No, in Australia, I'm like Stephen Hawkins. It's fucking amazing. So I thought, well, why not? Let's take the chip, man. They've had the series. They've shown the first series out in Australia on 10.
Yeah.
So they had a bit of a grasp of what it was, and we decided that rather than taking fish and chips, we'd take a barbecue joint around Australia, and it was great, wasn't it? It was good fun.
It's great fun.
Listen, I can't get enough of the two of you on camera. We actually have a sneaky peek of this series, which is coming soon. Let's take a look at this. You're worse than Kate Winslet for getting naked on camera. Do you know that? I mean, she'll take her clothes off at the drop of a hat, but Freddie Flintoff, it's in the contract, isn't it?
Yeah.
My arse will be bared. And it's why we love you. That's very exciting. I think we've got to wait till 2017 for that, but we look forward to that. In the meantime, we'd love to open the conversation to yourselves, to the floor, and I'm sure that there are many questions. One of my colleagues is going around with a microphone. So who would like to ask the boys a question about anything? There's no holds barred.
Great, let's go.
Yep, let's go. Yes, we have a young man here who has a question.
Thanks. Hi, Freddie. Right, and Rob, you're right. Massive cricket fan, Freddie. You say you're not going to do any punditry, or you're not that keen on doing punditry, but I remember listening to a lunchtime Test Match special episode with Jonathan Agnew, and you said how much you're enjoying life, and I thought you had a really good voice for radio, and I thought you were really good. No, honestly. No, obviously, I love your TV stuff as well, but.
Open your mouth and change foot.
No, but would you not do TMS, or are you not doing punditry? Because I know you're a friend of Shane Warne, and he's done a lot of stuff on Sky and stuff. And
I wouldn't say friends.
Would you not?
But no, I never say never, because you never know, do you? I've done a little bit in Australia. I did the version of the 2020, the Big Bash.
I really enjoyed you doing that.
Yeah, but that's not really commentary. It's just messing about on a microphone. But do you know what? Why there's opportunities to do things like this, League of Their Own, and all the other stuff, I'm just not ready. I'm 38 to sit and talk about cricket. I love cricket, don't get me wrong, but I like it on my terms. I don't want to have to earn a living out of playing it. I want to turn up, watch with my kids, support England. And there's also a fine line, is that I can still go back in the dressing room. I can take my kids to meet the players. And I think if you cross that line as a pundit, you've got to criticise them, and I wouldn't be particularly good at that. But you never know. When this dries up, I might have a crack at it.
I mean, yeah.
But it's Rob who's interesting, Mum. We're trying to get him famous enough so he can do Strictly. So I'm going to start a campaign. You'd love to do Strictly, wouldn't you?
Shut up.
You would.
Yeah.
You would love to do Strictly. What about Big Brother?
Yeah, can I do it just as a woman, please?
Yeah, that would be
No,
perfect.
What was that?
You're both family men, of course. You've got 3 children. You've got 2.
3.
You got 3. You got 3. Your
Unless
daughter
one
as
of
well.
them's not mine.
Forgive me. Your daughter is no. Of course, your daughter is 12, and then you got 2 children. So therefore, it's a great gig, of course, all this travelling, but it's tricky in terms of the work-life balance. I would have thought. Is it? Do you miss them when you're away? How do you work it out with the family?
Quite easy. I mean, I've been on the road a lot for
Yeah.
a long time. So
Your missus is she's like a bicycle widow, right?
yeah, she's a bicycle widow.
I
And
wonder where that was going there.
yeah. Whoa!
I'm glad you put widow on the end.
We appear to be out of time, ladies and gentlemen.
first time at the Sheffield Documentary Festival, ended up in a brawl. Yeah. I've got 3 kids, and my wife she's very understanding. And what I have come to appreciate is that when you are at home, if you make a sufficiently large pain in the arse of yourself, she's actually very pleased to see you go.
Of course,
And
of
that's
course.
rather harmonious. And then also very pleased to welcome you back. And my kids are delighted. You know, I've got a 15-year-old son who, you know, is sport mad. So he's chuffed to bits that, you know, I'm going off to do.
Of course he is, with an absolute legend. Okay, so do we have any other questions for my friends here? Yes, I have a lady up there. It's raised her hand.
Thank you. I'm Jackie,
Hi,
Freddie,
Jackie.
and
Rob.
Rob. Sorry, Rob.
Actually,
Right, that's it. I'm
we just refer him. He's just the other one. It's Freddie and the other one.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I just
all right, Sarah.
wondered, do you cook your own fish and chips when you're there? You know, do you actually? Because I used to own a fish and chip shop.
Ooh.
Did you?
And yeah. And I just wondered whether you actually cook them yourselves, and if so, are your hands now made of asbestos?
Yeah, we do. That's one of the things people ask us, do we do it, or is there someone? We got Nicky, who's brilliant. She's been with us both series, helps us clean the van and prep stuff. But we do, yeah. We get the potatoes from local fish shops and the fish. We take our batter everywhere. And like I said before, I take a real pride in doing it. And bizarrely, I hate cooking at home and I don't do it. But when I'm in my van, it's nice. It's quite therapeutic. You know, just getting your fish and you hear it, and then your potatoes whistle when they get to the top. No, we do. We do cook.
How come the fish and chip shop business didn't work out for you?
What's with her hands?
I'm in fashion now, darlings.
You're in fashion.
Me too, you know, Jack or more. You know, like that. Piece of piss, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a lot easier. I just wondered if you serve your fish and chips, because I've never seen it actually. I'm going to watch it now, obviously.
You're in the right place.
I just wondered if you served it with mushy peas.
Yeah, I love mushy peas.
Yeah. And do you cook your own fish?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Blimey, this is the...
Do you know, we're good at it. We are. I mean, it sounds rather boastful, and it took quite a long time. And we had the pleasure in the first series of going around to lots of award-winning fish and chip shops and looking at what they do, and they give us a few tips.
And what about where do you stand on, salt and vinegar, red sauce, brown sauce? Because I lived in Scotland for a few years, and on the East Coast they have brown sauce, and in the West Coast they have ketchup.
I think it's a bit of a slur on your food if you're putting sauce on.
Yeah.
Salt, vinegar, mushy peas, fish and chips, done.
Yeah, job done. Keep it simple. Maybe we could have a quick word with Nikki, if you don't mind, because you are the sort of invisible heroine behind the series. So how did you come to be involved with the boys? How did this come about?
I don't know. I must have done something terribly wrong. The production company rang me up and asked my advice on what to do with the van. And after half an hour chatting to them, they said, "Right, you got the job." I didn't even know it was an interview.
Have you got? So you're a chef?
No, I'm a home economist. I work on cookery programs on TV shows.
I see.
So we do all the. Here's one you made earlier.
Oh, so when Simon Rimmer pretends to cook on Sunday brunch, it's you.
It's all to do with timings. It's all to do with timings and obviously they've got times for hours for a stew to cook. But the boys do cook. They're really good. Fred's very good at battering fish.
So what about, can you give us a quick batter recipe then? Does it have to have beer in it or not?
No, we did do one with whiskey though.
Yeah.
In Ireland in the first series with Bushmills whiskey.
That's good.
Very simple, right? Flour, fizzy water?
That's
more tempura, isn't it?
Oh, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
It makes us... Fred will tell you. We have to have ice-cold water, though.
Refrigerated water.
Yeah,
Yes.
ice-cold water.
All right, ice-cold water. Oh, brilliant. So you didn't make it to, they didn't have a use for you in Australia?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Oh, yeah, Vicky was
You
there.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on the barbecue now?
Yeah, barbecue.
Multi-talented.
Fish and chips, yeah, fish and chips now.
That's fantastic. Oh, well, a round of applause to Nikki, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing. Do I have any more questions? We're almost out of time, but we'll get your... Yes, there's a gentleman at the back and a lady at the front as well, so we'll take both of your questions. Hello, sir.
Hi, I'm Rick.
Rick.
Say, you was on about getting Rob famous enough to do Strictly. What about yourself? You look pretty Andy in the leotard on the last Cirque du Soleil bit.
Oh.
Doing the
Compliment I
performing.
never thought I'd get off you, Rick. I've got no interest whatsoever. I got asked every year, well, they stopped now, but I've seen like Goffey did it, it was brilliant. Michael Vaughan was like an art stand, wasn't he? He was awful. But I always said never, but then I did. I'm a Celeb, Get Me Out of Here, Australia, 2 years ago. And I said, no, I'm never going to do it, never going to do it. And I was out there, and they offered me a contract. I said no. And then they offered a bit more money. I said maybe. And they offered a lot more. I said, yeah, go on then. And it was the easiest month of my life. I was sat in a jungle doing nothing and getting paid to listen to people whinge. And I was on a 2-week contract. So the first 2 weeks I couldn't get voted out. And then after that, you're on a daily rate. So I started trying.
So you were financially incentivized to stay as long as possible?
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, it was a Monday, and I was thinking, if I stay until Thursday, we're going to get a new patio. If I'm in on Monday, we're going to Tenerife. But yeah, I did that, mainly the money. The other thing was, it was a different show. It was the first year. It was a family. It was earlier on in the evening. It was family. And yeah, I'm glad I did it. A few bit of work came out of it as well. But as for the other ones...
Did you feel like because it was Australia, you could sort of, because it was not home, you could get away with doing that show? Whereas in England, the exposure would just be so enormous that you'd be put off doing it here?
Yeah, because I thought, well, you know what, it's a gamble that if it goes well, great. If it doesn't, I'll just never go back. And it went all right, and they still had me back. But Strictly, nah. I don't.
Why not? Why not? What's the difference?
Well, the
between
dancing's
you-
all
you-
right.
Yeah.
It's MVTs, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
They're shocking, aren't they?
Yeah, they are,
What
they
they
are,
do on
they
there.
How do you think Goffey pulled it off? Is he? Do you think?
Character.
Is it right?
Yeah, he's great. Goffey, Darren Goffey's like the most unintentionally funny bloke I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
When I met him first off, he was in the dressing room. I was 20, I went in, and he says, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all right, thanks." He says, "My name's Darren, but people call me Rhino." I said, "All right." He says, "You know why they call me Rhino?" I said, "No." He says, "Because I'm strong as an ox." He's like, really, Darren? And then it's endless. He gave a team talk once before the Ashes, right? And he gave this riveting team talk, and he's going on about the Ashes, and he said, "What we need to do, we need to rise from the ashes like a pheasant," right? And then I think it was Marcus Trescothick said to him, "Don't you mean a phoenix, Darren?" He says, "Yeah, I knew it began with a fucking F." It's like Goffey's just, and I think that's why he won Strictly. He just threw himself into it, and everyone loves Goffey. He's an amazing man.
I just thought, like the Cirque du Soleil thing, you threw yourself in 100% with that. I thought,
Yeah, but also as well, if I fancy doing something, I'll commit to it fully. If I don't, I just don't. I wouldn't put myself in a position where I'm just going through the motions. So, yeah, I don't think.
So you're all or nothing.
All or nothing, everything.
Right. Yeah, well, that's not a bad way to be. I think we've got time for, maybe we'll go really rapid fire now, actually. So I've got a young lady in the front row here with a question, and we've got two over there, and then we'll be done.
Hi. This show and like kind of everything you do is quite light-hearted. And I was wondering if you're doing anything in the future about more serious things, because as a famous person, both of you, and kind of seen as like a family type of show, I think you could relate to younger people, and if you did some more serious kind of documentary stuff, you would get a big audience. Have you ever like considered doing anything like that? It's
actually strange that you say that, because I did a very same meeting with my agent probably about 3 months ago, where I love doing this, but I am 40 next year, and I would like to do some more gritty things on more challenging issues. Not to say I don't want to do this, I love it. However, when I had a taste for it doing the documentary on depression, we finished it, and it became a real passion project, not just for me, but for the whole crew. And I would like to do things like that. I watch the work of like Louis Theroux does, and I just think he sets the standards these days for like serious documentaries, and that is something I would love to get into. I'd like to act as well. I'd like to have a crack at acting. I don't know what I'd play like, but.
Do you? I think this is like music to my ears that you want to do all these different things. And do you sometimes feel a bit trapped in the public persona of the sort of the wild Freddie from back in the day? Do you feel like sometimes the public don't let you show your serious side a bit?
He does it to himself to a great extent. Yeah, I hope you don't mind if I answer that
Carry on,
question
Rob.
for you.
Yeah, go on.
He does it himself, which is great. It's sort of part of his, his appeal.
Persona.
Yeah, part of his persona, which is interesting. But he's,
So what, do you mean that he slightly sort of plays up to public expectations when he's out and about?
And he's perfectly capable of making more serious documentaries. He's actually quite an intelligent bloke. He's got this incredibly annoying habit of whenever you tell him something, he looks out the window picking his nose. And then when you finish telling him something, he'll look at you and go, "Sorry, have you mistaken this for the face of someone who's interested in what you're talking about?" and that's not the annoying bit. The annoying bit is a year later, the subject comes up again and he'll repeat verbatim back to you what you've told him.
Spooky.
Really, really annoying. And
But that's the thing on the show I've enjoyed as well, is especially the Amazon and stuff with Rob. For me, it is educational. I like spending time with people that I can learn of. I spent so many years in a cricket dressing room and you don't learn anything of people. God, I wasn't a footballer. But, I like I think since I've stopped playing cricket, you get very focused on sport, and this is how you behave and this is what you do. But TV's enabled me to broaden my horizons and meet people from all different types of background. And I find that so interesting. Yeah. I think that's why the relationship works with Rob as well. When he's talking about some of the stuff, my missus knows me that if I'm looking at her, I am not listening. But if I'm looking around the room, I'm taking it in. And he's just cottoned onto that now. But I think that's why the relationship works, where Rob's got a lot of knowledge and I take a lot of it on board.
Yeah, for sure. Great question. I think we've got a couple more. So, yes, sir, what would you like to ask?
Rob, what? Oh, sorry, got a mic, yeah. So, lots of people have been asking Freddie about what he wants to do. What's your next plans then, Rob? Are you doing anything?
I write books. I write quite serious books, which Fred pretends he's read, but he hasn't. And so, I mean, that's kind of how I make a living, and I'll carry on doing that. So I published a book a few months ago about trees. Don't laugh. And explicitly about the ash tree, and I'm very interested in
the ash tree, the ashes. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's tenuous link. Yeah, and I am interested in many things. So I mean, I should be writing another book. But I'm kind of
about trees.
Yeah, no, about another subject that's kind of privilege of what I do.
How many trees had to be cut down for the ash tree book then?
One.
Wow.
Oh, what to make all the
This is
print?
a big seller. It was a bonsai.
I think we've got a couple more questions. We're so low on time. I'm being really naughty now. So let's speak to this lady. Hello there.
Hi, I was just wondering, you said that you spend a lot of time at home thinking about weird documentaries to pitch to Sky. What are any of the ones that you never pitched or that pitched and got rejected?
A lot of them. To be honest, I've been looking at not too many. One of the things I'd love to do something with animals. I have a genuine passion for wildlife, which has been spawned out of, a kid, and also I've had the chance to. I did a show where I spent a week on my own in Botswana in the Okavango Delta, just me and a camera, and I saw all sorts of lions, elephants, giraffe. It was amazing. And I did some walking through Tanzania with a Maasai, so I'd love to do some stuff with animals. Obviously with Rob as well.
But Rob's allergic, isn't he? Isn't it? Cat fur? No, you're right with that?
No, I'm fine, yeah. I don't really like snakes.
Sure?
Yeah.
Snakes.
Yeah, snakes. Yeah, so I'd like to do that. But I don't know. I'd like to go into space. But,
and we'll take our last question.
Budget.
I think there was a gentleman there. Now, unfortunately, that'll be our last question. Apologies, everyone. Clock's against us.
Fred, you said that when you decide to do something, you do it with absolute commitment. I just wanted to ask you what the truth of the story is about tackling David Boone's beer drinking record on the London to Australia flight, whether you beat it and how many you drank.
Not now, but I think David Boone, ex-Aussie cricketer, he's like a little fat fella, and I think he drank 56 cans on a flight from London to Australia. I think I broke it 3 or 4 times without knowing. But yeah, it was one of them things where Boone, and apparently he had 10 pints before he got on the plane. Wow. But I think that side of my life now, that's gone, I think. I don't think, well, I'll leave that to Rob.
But I'm guessing that you don't have regrets, though, because it's all just part of your journey, isn't it? That's the thing. Would you say, like, you wouldn't erase the past, would you?
No, I think, I made a lot of mistakes. The kid, sport's a strange world where you're meant to know everything in your 20s. In any other profession that you'd be 40, 50. I know we had Sir Richard Attenborough in here before. And
yeah. He's in his 90s.
90s, and he's still working and probably still learning.
Yeah.
And as a sportsman, you're expected to know everything in your 20s, and it's obviously you'll make mistakes, and mine were quite well publicised. But I have no regrets. I wouldn't be sat here doing this, I don't think, if I'd have had that life. I've learned from them. I suppose you're the same, are you, Rob?
Yeah, no, with that question, I think that's kind of why I like doing this and why the show has the appeal that it does, is that we're both quite comfortable with where we're at now.
Well, we're very comfortable watching you in our living rooms as often as possible. As I said, the new series is out now, episode 2, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I think you'll agree it's been a real treat to have the boys. I'd also like to thank everyone at Sky for organising this event, and Sky's commissioning editor, Bill Hobbins, and director Ben, and producer Rebecca. Also the technical guys here, and Freya, and Gareth and Nigel and the team, and everyone at Sheffield Documentary Festival. Most importantly, you guys for coming, because it was just brilliant to get your questions and great to have your engagement with what the boys are doing. So thanks for coming, and my particular thanks to Freddie Flintoff and Robert Penn. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the boys.